In the last video, we built a bullet farm that was very efficient at making bullets, but it was also dedicated to making bullets and nothing else. So you might be thinking it's a bit ridiculous to dedicate so much space to just one thing, because often we'll need lots of metal for structures or weapons and other things, and it doesn't make sense to leave forges full of charcoal when you have a need for metal. So let's talk about quick changeover. Quick changeover is when you switch from producing one type of item to another with the least amount of disruption to your production line. It's much better to have dedicated areas for different activities. So you want places for things and things in their places, but sometimes it makes more sense to repurpose forges. Try not to do this unless you have to, because every changeover is a disruption and it creates waste. So we're going to talk about how to minimize this waste and disruption now. So in the last video we left the forges full of wood burning down so that we can use it to make bullets. Now we have 5 forges full of charcoal, and we want to switch to metal production, so we need to get rid of that charcoal and get metal on to cook as soon as possible. So the best way to do this is to keep everything in the production line. We don't want to go and move huge piles of charcoal away from here because we'll lose it. We'll put things into storage, which is a waste of time because we'll end up searching for it, and it's just handling in motion that doesn't need to happen. So what we're going to do instead is we need to push out the bullet production line. We'll move all the gunpowder to the replicator, so all 450 stacks of it. If there isn't enough room in the replicator, we might have to craft some bullets. This is technically waste because we don't need bullets right now, we need metal, but this is necessary, and honestly I've never heard anyone complain about too many bullets. Now the CHEM benches are free and we can pull charcoal from the forges and put them into the CHEM benches, ready to craft gunpowder later. But importantly, right now the forges are empty and ready for metal, so we need to get metal on and cooking straight away. And finally, we need a way to show our tribe mates that we're doing metal production now. So let's make it visual. I just put a trapdoor in front of the roll rat walkway and opened it. So now you can't just unload rats, you have to shut the trapdoor, and hopefully that's enough to make someone just have a little think about what's actually going on here. I've also put some signs up that say no entry, and I've placed them to block access to the CHEM benches and the replicator. So while we're making metal, nobody should be going in there and fucking it all up. This is keeping it visual, this is making it obvious and self-explanatory. What's important here is that we don't do bullets and we don't farm metal at the same time. It's either one or the other. If you try and do too much in the same place at the same time, it just leads to chaos and it slows everything right down. We're either making metal or we're making bullets, and the trapdoor is the indicator of what needs to go into the forges. On the path around the forges where the roll rack goes around, I've painted some ceilings red, and these spots are just a visual place mark for where the Ankies need to be for metal cooking. So in this build I've got parking for 4 Ankies that are loaded up with metal. I haven't unloaded the Ankies and put the metal into a vault or tech storage because I don't have to. That'd be a waste of time. It's also much easier to load the forges by popcorning metal from the Anki and whipping it up than it is to transfer it from a storage box. I'm not going to claim that this is the most efficient way to farm structures. I don't know, I haven't timed different builds to find out, but I have made an effort to build in some ideas that reduce waste. And I'm not going to talk up this building, but what I'm going to do is point out some of the ideas I've come up with to make this place run fairly efficiently. You might be able to cherry pick some of these ideas and incorporate them into your own build. We're just using a humble smithy here to craft in. I've got 1 smithy per forge. The reason we're using a smithy is it's simply because it's got enough space in it to hold a forge load of ingots, plus all the cementing paste you need to make structures out of that metal. They're also small enough to place right next to the forge, so we can quickly move ingots to it. The downside, of course, is that they craft fairly slowly. We've got ramps that lead up to the forges, and you can access the smithy and the forge from the same position when you're standing on the ramp. The ramps also don't interfere with the roll rats when we're going around to make bullets. There's a snail farm here. Having them right here saves motion because the snails are right where we need the paste. So to convert a forge load of metal into foundations, you need to collect from 18 snails. That's a lot of snails, 18 per forge, and that's also a lot of cakes that you need to feed them. So it's probably not worth having so many. You might save time by having less snails and collecting them more often. The best place to put the paste is straight in the smithy where you need it, but if you're going to run out of room, it's worth dropping a tech storage box. I've bashed the use of storage a fair bit so far, but this is a prime example of where storage can help rather than slow you down. This next station here is dedicated to making spike walls. We don't need paste, so there's no snails. Instead, we need hide and fibre. So to keep these areas visual and self-explanatory, I've put a storage box down to put the spikes into. This should make it clear to anyone who comes here that this is the crafting station for spikes. So this is places for things and things in this places. Because ingots, fibre and hide are also used to make flak, we can do flak repairs here as well. All this stuff here is only getting used when we're in metal farming mode. When we want to go back to bullet farming, we're going to shut this section down and get the bullet production line primed and ready to go. So to do that, we need to pull the cooked metal out of the forges and put it in the smithies. Then we can shut the trapdoor, load the forges with wood and get it cooking to replace the charcoal. We also need to go around and craft gunpowder in each chem bench. And that's it, that's a quick changeover. Now we're ready to start pumping out bullets again. Every changeover creates disruption, so I suggest having two farms like this, two crafting areas like this, one for metal and one for bullets. If you need more metal, you can do a quick changeover and get two metal farms going simultaneously, and vice versa if you need more bullets. Frankly, the 6 forges in this video just aren't enough for an alpha level tribe. There's lots of different things you need to craft in Ark. It's important to be great at making things you need a lot of, like ammo and structure spam, but for things you need less of, it's not so important to have such tightly controlled systems. Obviously, this is about improvement, not getting bogged down in unnecessary rubbish. It's always going to be worth having another replicator elsewhere with vaults around it for miscellaneous materials, so those who want to make one or two of something don't need to go messing around with the bullet production line. The final thing I want to mention here is continuous improvement. There's always going to be opportunities to become more efficient. Every time you find yourself searching, waiting or walking around, this is an opportunity for you to improve something and to make your tribe better. So make a change that's going to eliminate or reduce that waste and then tell people about it so they know the new best way to do things. Sometimes you'll get pushback from people who say no, that's not actually better, and that's fine. Constructive criticism is good. Critical thinking should always be encouraged, but it's so easy to get stuck in a rut and be a busybody. There's every possibility that the naysayers are right, so it's on you to go out and prove it. If you can prove that a new way is better and you still can't get anyone to adopt this better way, then you're screwed and so is your toxic tribe. Rest in peace.